Mike Greer, P.K. Subban, Anson Carter, Wayne Simmons, and Vander Kane. A rising number of black men have made and are making names for themselves in the National Hockey League. But have you ever heard of Willie O'Ree? If you didn't watch hockey in 2021, probably not. Born in New Brunswick, Canada, Willie was destined to have a love for the game. In 1956, he signs with minor league team Quebec Aces. In 1958, he gets the call up to the Boston Bruins. Art Dorrington had signed an NHL contract 8 years prior, but he never got to play in a single NHL game. On January 18, 1958, Willie skates onto the ice for the Bruins. In 1960, after hearing racist taunts throughout the game from Chicago Blackhawks players and fans, Blackhawks player Eric Nestrenko added the cherry on top. He knocked out 2 of O'Ree's teeth and broke his nose. O'Ree responded by smashing a hockey stick over Eric's head and nearly causing a riot. In 1998, O'Ree took a job as the NHL's diversity ambassador. In 2002, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers fired Tony Dungy, despite a third straight year with a winning record. The Minnesota Vikings also fired Dennis Green after his first losing record in 10 years. Things were looking funny in the light, and that prompted Johnny Cochran to investigate. He showed teams were less likely to hire black coaches and general managers, but they were more likely to fire them, despite winning records. This led to Kelvin Winslow Sr. and John Wooten putting together a group of players, coaches, and executives advocating for a rule requiring that minorities are interviewed for coaching and GM roles. The Rooney Rule is implemented in 2003. The number of black coaches and executives rises from 6% to 22% in 2006. The Rooney Rule isn't flawless, and some teams find ways to skirt rules, but it's constantly updating and changing the league makeup. Robert Johnson was born in 1899, a standout athlete who went on to play football at Lincoln University, where he was a star running back. After graduation, he coached for Virginia University of Lynchburg, Samuel Houston, and finally Morris Brown, but he wasn't a great coach. After coaching, he became the first black American to be licensed for medical practice in Lynchburg, Virginia. Dr. Johnson picked up a passion for tennis and was a much better tennis instructor than he was a football coach. 2 of his students were Althea Gibson and Arthur Ashe, legends that broke barriers in tennis. Later, he would found the American Tennis Association Junior Development Program for African American youth. Don't be afraid to change careers. You might find your passion somewhere else. As a child, Toni Stone was nicknamed Tomboy by the neighborhood children because of her love of baseball, despite her mother's objection to the unladylike behavior. Turning to the church, they were shocked when the priest recommended Little League Baseball. She was rejected for being a girl. She joined the girls' team but found it uncompetitive. At 16, she began playing for the Twin City Killer Giants. After following her sister to San Francisco, Toni lied about her age to play on several youth teams. In 1949, she managed to get a spot with the West Coast Negro Baseball League San Francisco Sea Lions by arguing a woman will bring fans to games. After finding out she was paid less than the men on the team, she left for the New Orleans Creole in 1949. At the end of 1953, a spot was opened on the Indianapolis Clowns after Hank Aaron departed. Toni took the spot and played 50 games that season, solidifying her legacy. After leaving the Clowns, she played in a few games for the Kansas City Monarchs before retiring. Admittedly, she lied on her resume more than once, but who hasn't? The important part is she always rose to the moment. The Indiana Pacers are one of the best teams in sports history. That may be biased, but I don't care. Florence Griffith Joyner is one of the most legendary runners of all time. That's not biased. Known for her flamboyant style with one-legged, one-piece suits, long fingernails, sometimes a hood, and ever-changing hairstyles, it can't be denied she was good. Really, really good. Then she retired to pursue life as a fashion designer. An unpaid intern for the Pacers named Rebecca was inspired by FloJo and used a collage of her looks to present the idea of a makeover for the team coming off a 28-54 record. FloJo switched the colors, a brighter gold, a darker blue, longer shorts, and simple but bold jersey design adored by the players and executives alike. Decades later, and they're still some of the most loved Pacers uniforms. Did you know over a quarter of Cowboys were black? Hollywood won't tell you that. Despite the strong roots, there aren't a ton of black people who participate in rodeos these days. The same goes for black people. We don't see light team and bull owners. Mansion Stinger is probably my favorite news anchor ever. She's won 15 Emmys. She's an actress. She's a co-founder of the Grit and Grace charity. She owns her own production company. And even in retirement, she still travels the country speaking. In November 2002, she added another line to her resume. Fancher became the first black person to own elite PBA bulls. Along with a group of friends, Fancher is the proud owner of 2 bulls, Stinger and Little Hot. During interviews, she stated that she always loved the rodeo and started dreaming of owning bulls in 1992. The dream has finally come true. July 2nd, 1957, Charlie Sampson is born in Los Angeles, California. Growing up, he was no stranger to the violence in the area. Seeking refuge, he took a job at the stables near Gardena, California. There, he picked up an interest in bull riding. Murders Diamond is a black bull rider, credited with breaking the color barrier for bull riders when he qualified for the National Finals Rodeo 6 years in a row, being ranked number 3 in the world, and even starred in the movie Junior Bonner. He would go on to join the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. Diamond served as an inspiration to Charlie. Sampson would take things further. In 1982, when there were only 6 black professional bull riders, he did the unthinkable. He won. Specifically, he became the first black man to win the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association World Championship. Despite numerous injuries, including a skull shattered in front of the president, Charlie will have an incredible career, and he's done a lot to make sure we remember that Murders is a living legend as well. K Quick, K Malik Shabazz, Art True, the man goes by a lot of names, but none are better than the simple truth. Ron Killings. Hailing from North Carolina, the man has made a name for himself in the world of professional wrestling for close to 30 years now. In 2002, he did something no black person had ever done before and hasn't done since. He captured the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Before WWE, AEW, Impact, or most major companies out there today, there was the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. And despite what it is now, they were once legendary. The WWE Championship, WCW World Heavyweight Championship, Impact World Championship, and more are the actual children of the NWA Championship. Defeating Ken Shamrock on August 7, 2002, Ryan Killings became the NWA World Champion. For the first time in the belt's 75-year history, a black man held it. Then he did it again, May 19th, 2004. A lot of folks think of Ryan Killings as a comedy act, but he's the truth. That's what's up. Charlie Pride led a super interesting life. In 1952, he was a pitcher in the Negro American League. When he played for the Louisville Clippers, they traded him and Jesse Mitchell to the Birmingham Black Barons for a bus. Yeah, a bus. On the side, he sang a little bit and got paid to sing before games while being a 2-time All-Star. In 1956, he gets drafted to the U.S. Army. In 1958, he just didn't have it anymore. Gave up making it to the major leagues and retired from baseball and got a job as a smelter, but he still sang a little bit. Later in 58, he finally goes to Sun Studios in Memphis and records some songs. He toured black nightclubs throughout the South and Midwest until Chet Atkins at RCA signed him to a deal. First 2 singles didn't chart, but then he blew up and fans didn't know he was black until they showed up for concerts. Eventually, he became part owner of the Texas Rangers before he died, so he did make it to the majors. From a side hustle to a career, Charlie Pride is proof you should never let your dreams die. As of 2022, just over 56% of players in the NFL were black. CFL, XFL, and USFL don't publish their numbers, but I doubt they're much different. That's a lot of black professional football players. But Charles Wallace was the third of 7 children born to his parents in Wooster, Ohio. In 1901, he attended Wooster College while working at the local hardware store and playing football. In 1902, he played for the Shelby Blues professional team, becoming the first black professional football player. In 1904, they gave him a contract to lock him down. Another first. Nobody ever talks about how he also played varsity baseball in college, where the only competition was Branch Rickey, who he would occasionally play football with when Branch would play for the Shelby Blues. Branch would later sign Jackie Robinson to the Dodgers. When his pro football career ended due to injuries, Wallace started a pro baseball career that was cut short due to his death. First black professional football player, first black pro to get a contract, and first black catcher to go from college to the Negro Leagues. He died at 31, but left one heck of a legacy. Part of college for Arthur was meeting his hero, Ricardo Gonzalez. Here's a picture with Ash, Gonzalez, and Gordon Parks at a charity game. For now, let's pause and talk about Ricardo Gonzalez. Despite having a reign as the top-ranked tennis player in the world, you will get no results searching for Ricardo Gonzalez or even Ricardo Gonzalez tennis. That is because Ricardo is Mexican-American. So, the media chose to constantly refer to him as Pancho Gonzalez and tell stories about him getting in knife fights as a child, which is why he had a scar on his face. In reality, he got the scar as a kid from crashing a scooter. Despite 4 Grand Slams, a #1 ranking, over 1,000 wins, numerous tournaments won, he still died poor without being recognized by his real name. Sometimes I wonder if Arthur knew that one day the media would treat him with the same disrespect they did Gonzalez. John Woodruff was born in South Connellsville, Pennsylvania, a place that currently has less than 2,000 people. He goes to the University of Pittsburgh, and in 1936, he places second at the Olympic trials, earning a spot at the Olympics that year. During the race, a Canadian doctor named Phil Edwards sets the pace and keeps it slow. John is locked in and can't get free without disqualifying himself.
The only way that I could get out of the box, I felt, was to slow down or stop.
John lets the others past him, and then, from behind, he takes lead for the gold medal in the 800 meter. Winners of the gold medals that year were presented with oak tree saplings. Johns is still growing in his hometown. Unfortunately, his career got cut short by World War II. He eventually becomes a lieutenant colonel. After the war, he's a teacher, a parole officer, director of Job Corps. He's buried in Crown Hill Cemetery in Indianapolis, Indiana, if you wanted to pay your respects. When Ose Kofi Tutu became the first king of the Ashanti people, his best friend and sorcerer, Okonfo Enoche, was by his side. When they were satisfied with conquering much of what is now Ghana, Okonfo took Ose's sword and placed it in the ground, casting a spell and stating when the Europeans could remove it, the Ashanti kingdom will fall. It's still in the city of Kumasi today, and it's not for lack of trying. It just can't be moved. In 1964, during a tour of Ghana, Muhammad Ali stated he would remove the sword. It's one of the few times Muhammad Ali has failed. I'm starting to think magic might be real. It was a Thursday evening on June 20th, 1968, and in Sacramento, California, the AAU championships were being held. The 100-meter dash held a record of 10 seconds, and a lot of folks had tied it. Earlier that day, Roger Bambuck of France and Charles Green of the United States tied it again. Semifinals roll around, and second place is Ronnie Ray Smith. He hits 10 seconds. But first place is Jim Hines. He hits 9.9 seconds. They record it, but say it doesn't really count because the automated machine said 10.03. Later, Charles Green wins the night 10-second run. It's called the Night of Speed. In the 1964 Olympics, Bob Hayes ran 9.9 seconds, but they recorded 10 because hand times. Well, at the 1968 Olympics, Jim Hines says put some respect on his name. He runs a 9.95 on October 14th, the first official sub 10-second run, and it wasn't beaten until Calvin Smith in 1983.